Okay, so tonight we are continuing the discussion of, is Judaism sexist slash patriarchal slash chauvinistic? And this week we are going to be talking about things that have to do with marriage, and such as the ceremony of getting married, the ceremony of getting divorced, polygamy, and we're going to be speaking a little bit about what's called the Aguna crisis. So these are all different places that we could see in halacha that halacha is sexist, that it favors the man, that it doesn't really care so much about the woman, and puts the woman in a situation that she's in an unfortunate situation, that she's sort of stuck, that she's being pushed around. Okay, so let's start the discussion with marriage. And I think the easiest place to start the discussion of marriage is actually the marriage ceremony, and that is that the way that in Judaism a couple gets married is that the guy gives the girl a ring. Okay, that's not all that he needs. He needs to say Hariyat Mekudeshet Li. He has to have two kosher witnesses, and that's why it's not every time that's why not everybody that gets engaged is called married, because when you're getting married, you don't say Hariyat Mekudeshet Li. You say, will you marry me? And that's why that's not considered a kosher wedding. But the question is that why is it that the guy gives the girl a ring and not vice versa? This is a big thing that in non-Orthodox circles, so they oftentimes will do what's called a double ring ceremony, and this was a matter that came up in responsa in halacha, that what's the status of a couple that does the double ring ceremony. And there's an interesting tshuva from Moshe Feinstein that he actually paskened that they aren't legally married, they aren't halachically married, that to do it against the way that the Torah says to do it is uprooting the very essence of what it takes to get married. And so it can't be. It's not only is it not necessary, but it actually messes with the marriage. And the question is that why is that? This is actually an introduction to the discussion about getting divorced, because how does a couple get divorced? So the husband gives the wife a get, okay, and it's not that she can't give her husband a get, okay, and this is like part of the discussion of the Aguna crisis. That you could have a woman that is stuck because her husband refuses to give her a get, and whereas if a guy wants to get divorced, so it's theoretically more easy because he can give her a get. Okay, so now part of the reason why the guy gives the girl a get and not vice versa is because it's the undoing of the ceremony that was done at the beginning. So then the question is really, why is marriage done that the guy gives the ring to the girl and not vice versa? And moreover, this would imply that one could imply that if you look into the sources, that the way that the Mishnah in Kedushin talks about the way that you get married is it says Ha'isha niknes b'shlosha drachim, that a woman is literally acquired in three ways. So, and I literally heard a story about this guy that he was before his chuppah, that he was asking his Rosh Hashiva, like, what should my kavanot be? He wants to have like holy thoughts, holy intentions when he's getting married. So he said, Rebbe, what should my kavanot be? So he said, "Shacht azevir koifta kartoffel." Think like you're buying a potato. That's very messed up, and it's because of stories like this that Judaism gets a bad reputation. So, but where did he get this crazy idea? So he got this crazy idea because the word that is used in order to how do you marry a girl? So it uses the word niknet, which could be incorrectly translated as acquired, which could imply that Judaism believes that from the moment that you get married, you own your wife. That's like, woohoo! That's like you get a servant to have that's quite chauvinistic. If we would believe that every married woman is a servant, I would call that chauvinistic. And the question is that actually accurate? So first of all, from the literal perspective, that it is true that the first word and the second word in the tractate of Kedushin, Eshet Niknes, is that she has niknet. The second chapter second chapter of Kedushin starts that Ha'ish Mekadesh es Isha, that he consecrates, he makes her holy, okay? Sanctifies, thank you. That she sanctifies a woman. That it refers to getting married not as an acquisition, but rather as you're sanctifying her. And moreover, so it's certainly not an acquisition. Nobody would say that I sanctify my potato. And even if it's for shalat, even if it's for everyone. and moreover, that the word niknes doesn't actually mean acquire. Okay? That we find an interesting thing, that the word kana doesn't always mean acquisition. It simply means a change of status. That we talked about, the Mishnayos talk about redeeming Ma'aser Sheni. That if you have something you want to bring to the Beis Hamikdash, you're supposed to eat it in Yerushalayim, and you want to redeem it on money in order to be able to travel. So the Mishnah calls that kana. Nothing's acquiring anything. It's a change in status, that it used to have holiness and now it's no longer holy. So that's called kana. So the word kana, literally, in Lashon HaKodesh, doesn't really mean acquire. It does mean that there's a change of status, which really tells us that the woman is the one that is changing her status. Now, in what way is the woman changing her status, and why isn't the man changing her status? Obviously, the man is also married, but what is the greatest ramification of being married? The most simple ramification is that now you can't marry anybody else, and that is something that in the times of the Torah was only applicable to women and not applicable to men, because it's a known fact that in the times of the Chumash, so polygamy was accepted. Okay? Not only was it accepted, but our heroes had more than one wife. Abraham had more than one wife. Yaakov had more than one wife. David had more than one wife. Then, so we don't find that there's any critique on them for the fact that they had more than one wife. And it was an okay thing. Not only that, but the four wives of Yaakov Avinu, they're the mothers of Klal Yisrael. Like the two of them are in the imahot. All four of them, their children are considered part of the Jewish people, and so we wouldn't have a Jewish people if it wouldn't be for polygamy. So so it's not just that it's allowed. It's something that it's really legitimized. So because we're going to get back to polygamy as a discussion, but because the main effect of the marriage is on the woman and not the man, so that's why it makes more sense to say that she is the one that she has her change of status more than he has a change of status, because the greatest thing of getting married is the fact that you can't marry anybody else, and that's only true on a Torah level to the woman and not to the man. Okay, so because the major change in status is happening in the woman, so that's why it's happening to her. Because it's happening to her, so that's why it's critical. That's why it's critical that he is the one doing it to her, because it's through her accepting of this. She can't give her husband a ring, and that's going to do something to her. That when something is done to her, when you accept something, that's what changes, right? It's like a magic wand. So you can't do it to yourself. So that's why the sequence, the ceremony has to be that he's giving it to her and not vice versa. Okay. Now, so that's why that in the standard marriage that you're getting married through a ring. So that's why it's the man giving it to women and not the woman giving it to the man. Now, interesting point of information is that same Mishnah that says that Isha Niknes, so it says that you can actually acquire a woman, you can actually get married with three ways. It says Bekesef, Bishtar, Ubiyah. That Kesef means to give her something of value, which is we choose a ring, the custom is to use the ring. The Gemara says there's also another way of getting married, and that's through a contract. Not the ksuba, we're going to get to ksuba soon, but you can through literally a marriage contract. And there's also a third way of getting married, and that is through sexual intimacy. And that having intimacy with the intention of getting married, that would actually make a couple married. Okay? That's actually part of the discussion of civil marriage. there was a big discussion in America in the 1970s, that what is the halachic status of civil marriage, specifically that if somebody has a civil marriage and and then
If they go to court and sign some papers?
yes, and they're legally married, and then they separate, and obviously they didn't get a get, so then, or if they separate and then she gets remarried, so then are those kids a mamzer? Is that called adultery because she didn't give a get? Or in other words, that when they got civilly married, does halacha reckon with civil marriage as something that has value, that has weight? So this was a huge machlokes between Rav Moshe Feinstein and Rav Henkin, and Rav Henkin was one of the Gedolei Hador in America at the time, and he has a son who is the head of Nishmat. So Rav Yehuda Henkin is his son. So his father was one of the Gedolei Hador, and so they had a machlokes about this. Rav Moshe was of the opinion that it is not valid, and Rav Henkin was of the opinion that it is valid. And it's all about, it's like the discussion is about what are the ramifications of when intimacy can create a marriage. Okay, so so what I want to take from that, the Gemara says that it's forbidden to do such a thing because it's considered immodest. It's considered inappropriate that before you're married to be together. But nevertheless, from the fact that is a way of getting married, you see that it's not necessarily something that he's doing to her. Right? In that third way of getting married, so they're obviously equally involved. So we see that the concept of getting married is not a concept of being acquired, but rather it's an act, it's a ceremony that simply makes union, okay, that makes togetherness, okay, that brings them together, which is more implied by the Mikudeshet, and there's no place there's no place in halachic thought, in Jewish thought, that that a woman is acquired by her husband, that she is in any way a possession, that she is in any way a servant. Now, there is an interesting halacha that also might be misunderstood with this discussion of, does the Torah look at a Jewish wife as a servant, and that is that there is a certain element of patriarchy in that the halacha sets forward. This is not from the Torah, but this is from the rabbis. This is from the Gemara, and it talks about the fact that a woman is obligated to do certain malachas. That there's malacha means chores, means work, and there's certain work that she has to do, and she has to take care of the house, and she has to make sure that things are clean, and she has to cook, and she has to tidy the house, and then it says that there's 5 specific malachas that she always has to do, meaning that there's a basic idea that there's certain chores around the house that are considered her job, but those, it depends on how rich they are. If they have enough money, they can get a maid, and the maid can do it. But there's 5 malachas that she always has to do, and those 5 malachas that she always has to do, even if she has maids, are things which are considered intimate. Okay, which is serving him food, making his bed, and this is something that I don't think we can connect to nowadays. But to wash his hands and face, that was the thing. That a wife would wash her husband's hands and face. I don't know. I think that's weird. Even when the barber, even when the barber asked me, should I wash your hair? I wash my own hair. So what are you saying?
Why does it say this?
Okay, I'm going to explain. So first of all, why on earth does the wife have to do the chores? Why does she have to mop the floor? Why doesn't her husband have to mop the floor? So the answer is very simple, and that is that the husband has other obligations, and that is that he has to support. That he has to provide all the financial support. The woman has absolutely no obligations, no responsibilities according to halacha to give any financial support to the home, and that's where the ksuba comes in. That when a husband gives his wife a ksuba under the chuppah, so what he's saying is, what he's obligating himself is that he's going to constantly be giving her food to eat, to giving her a roof over her head, to take care of clothing, to buy her stuff for Yom Tov, to get for to pay for medicine, to pay for doctors, to ransom her if she gets kidnapped, to bury her if she dies. Like there's anything he has to take care of her from A to Z, literally Z, and and all of the financial things that she could ever need, to get her hair done, to get her nails done. So it's all on him. It's all on him. She doesn't have to, and she can constantly be asking him for more money, and that's what he obligated himself under the chuppah. So because he is totally taking care of her. So not only taking care of her, he's taking care of the kids. Not only that, he even obligates himself to take care of kids that she has from a previous marriage, and because he's completely taking care of her. So then the Chazal thought that it's appropriate that she should do the cooking, do the household chores. So there is in halacha there is some kind of official patriarchy. However, these are not halachas. These are not halachas. In fact, even in the times of the Gemara, there was an idea that a woman could say, I don't need your money. Why would a woman ever say such a thing? So there's an interesting halacha. It's a follow-up of what we were talking about, and that is that according to halacha, if a woman has a job, so the money actually goes to her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Without her consenting to that specifically?
right, it's simply that
Default.
just by default, yeah.
But does he do the other things then?
I don't understand.
Like, does he wash her hands and face?
No. Any.
Serious question.
No. I think you misunderstood.
No.
That if she gets a job, so then the money goes to him. Why? Because he's completely supporting her. Because it doesn't make sense that he's paying for every single expense that she has, and she's getting a job on the side and just having a bank account to save for after he dies. Like that doesn't make sense. He's killing himself to support. So it makes sense that if she makes money, that it should go to help support the family also, right? However, what if she's more successful than he is, and she doesn't need? This is what the Gemara was talking about. That she's more successful than him, so she doesn't need his support. So the Gemara says in that situation, she has the right to say that, let's do it Dutch. That you don't need to support me, and I'm gonna make my own money. And in that situation, so her money doesn't go to him, and when she wants to do her nails, she takes from her own money, and that's considered an accepted monetary agreement between a husband and wife. Okay, so even in times of the Gemara, we see that this is only if it works for you, if it makes sense to you, that this system that he's gonna work. What?
No, I don't agree.
What don't you agree with?
No, I don't want to do that. I'm just like shaking my head. Nothing.
Yeah,
I'm not
see.
like, I'm not trying to, yeah.
The husbands could learn and the women wearing.
If the husband learning, the kolowise, that's not, there's no grounding in halacha. There's no obligation for such a thing.
Okay.
That you have very, very righteous women, that Torah is so dear to them, that they want to be superwomen, that they want to take their husband's obligation of supporting the house, and saying, I want to also do my job and also do your job, and for the sake of Torah. And that's totally just because she's a superwoman, because she's a tzedekes. And if at any point she would change her mind, so then he would just have to get a job. Like there's no legal or halachic obligation that she's every day that a kola wife is working, so she gets A plus, she gets extra credit. Like there's no, it's not like that's the way it is. Okay, so now, because of this somewhat this default patriarchy, so a person could get the impression that if it's the woman's job to do the malacha, so then it must be she's a servant. That's why we're explaining that the Torah doesn't think she's a servant. It's just that it makes sense that he's not home because he's working the whole day, and so it makes sense that she's gonna clean the house and do the cooking. Okay, that's something that makes sense. Now, interestingly, the Gemara says that there's 5 malachos that she always has to do, irrelevant to their financial status, and the reason for that is because these are 5 malachos that it's considered an act of intimacy to do something. It's a romantic thing to serve food, and that's why these same halachas. So these are copied in the halachas of nida, that there's certain things that when a woman's in nida that she's not allowed to do for her husband. So the halacha copies from these 5 things the things that the Torah looks at as intimate acts. That serving food is considered an intimate act because it's an act of love, and so those are the same things that because they bring intimacy. So those are the things that it's her job to create that kind of environment in the home. Okay, so now, so if the question is that does the Torah believe in that a woman is like a servant? So absolutely not. If anything, the man is the servant because he's the one who has an obligation to work his head off, and the fact that she has responsibilities of cooking and cleaning, that doesn't take away from the fact that he has a much harder responsibility. And in a situation that they're both taking care of their financial responsibilities, so of course there's no place to say that, well, you're the woman, so you need to cook and clean. That's, well, if I'm the woman, I need to cook and clean, then I don't need to work. So, like in a situation that they're both providing, so then, and this is like what I'm saying is not revolutionary. There's no couple in the world. There's no, like, maybe there's exceptions, but like I've never met couples that the husbands don't watch the kids, that the husbands don't clean the house, that the husbands don't take out the garbage. This is the reality. This is not I'm being revolutionary liberal. It's simply the way it is in every single society, that in the most religious societies that the women don't do the malacha, and it's like it's simply a mistake to look at halacha and to look at the halacha that a woman has to do certain chores and say that that's the proof that Judaism believes that a woman is a servant. Okay, so now on that note, so regarding the dynamics in the home, so I think it's also important for all the haters out there that want to look at halacha as being oppressive, and they'll point to different halachas. So there's something intellectually dishonest about the fact that you're taking from texts from 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and you're not asking the women themselves. And the fact is that in every society that women don't feel oppressed by the women don't feel oppressed. Women, if you ask like even in Tolas Aaron, we said in the first week that like over there they can't even get real jobs, but they are very proud of the fact that they're raising their children and their husbands love them. It's important to note that the Rambam writes that the obligations of a husband to his wife is ohava kegufo u'machabda yosem migufo, that he's obligated to love her as much as he loves himself, and to respect her more than he respects himself. Okay, so if that's the halacha, so then if a person is following halacha, then it wouldn't make sense that his wife is going to feel oppressed. If he's respecting her more than he respects himself, that means that if there's only one pillow, so then she gets it. If there's only if I only have time, if only like we have a conflict of interests, and so then you first. So then if that's the way that you're living your marriage, so then how would she feel oppressed? How would she feel like she's second class? If he's obligated to give her more respect than he respects himself, so it doesn't make sense that she should feel oppressed. And the fact is that in any healthy marriage, so then the woman is going to feel like she's very special, and she has as much of a say in what goes on in the house and all the decisions, and I think I told you that before I got married, that my Rebbe, my Rebbe told me that my Rebbe was Rebbe Fall Shmulevitz, and his father was Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. He was one of the Gedolei Adar, and so he told me that when I got married, he was telling me that when he got married in the 60s, so his father told him that you have to respect your wife very much, and ultimately you have to take responsibility. You have to make the decisions. You're the one who has the last word, and that's what he was telling me. That's what my father told me when I got married. But I'm telling you that nowadays it's not like that. That nowadays they're completely equal, and this is in the hardcore Haredi world. This is the Meir Yeshiva, and that this is what they're teaching. That there is absolutely no that the husband has the last word. That this is simply not the reality that exists in the hardcore Haredi society. So it shouldn't exist. And if anybody, I'm sure there are like entitled brats that get married and they think that the wife is supposed to serve them. So that's why you have an extra pair of shoes. She's like, so start by just throwing it at him, and if it doesn't work, so you can, and like eventually he'll get the picture. Like there's no room to just be just to be an entitled brat, and he sits back, and especially in a situation that if he's not working, then it's certainly that makes no sense. And once again, this it's not like that. It's really not like that. Like I'm not saying something like this is the way it should be. Halavai, if only people would have. No, this is actually the way it is. That the way the marriage in the Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox worlds works very, very wonderful because they follow the halacha that oivah kegufa mechabta yasem kegufa. So really, there's no place for this complaint that we're oppressed.
I went to someone's house for Shabbos. That was like a cool way. Her husband wouldn't let any of the men at the table stand up and help her clean up the table. I was like, only the women do this because she's like, and it was recently. So you can't say
What?
Okay, so he's not following halacha. Okay, I'm telling you that, and also he's the exception. Okay. Yes. You want to say something for the oppressed women out there? Do you want to be the voice of the oppressed women out there?
No, I said that you can say the general thing that no women feel oppressed, because I think there are plenty of women who do feel oppressed. If the husband's keeping halacha, then she won't feel oppressed.
I mean, there's no societies that consistently there's a community based around oppressing women.
I completely disagree. I think the women don't realise necessarily even they're being oppressed. If you're not given the same opportunities and you're expected to, for example, like a lot of communities women are expected to stay at home and look after kids and do all this stuff, they're not given opportunities. That is in a way being oppressed. You don't think that really is happening. We're living in the 21st century and there's not given opportunity to go to school and to do a further education. That is being oppressed in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I think you can say they're happy in their marriage doesn't mean they're given the same opportunities in the rest of it. Doesn't mean they're not oppressed.
Okay, that's a good point. That if you're in a society that doesn't allow you to get a higher education and doesn't allow you to get good jobs, then that is a form of oppression. The fact that they don't realize that they're being oppressed doesn't make that they're not oppressed, right? That's something that we addressed in the very first class. That is completely not a Judaism thing, and they wouldn't even bring a halacha to support that approach. So that the purpose of this class is there any sources in Torah / halacha to oppress women? Okay, and I'm trying to explain that through bringing different halachas, that halacha supports women and respects women, and a woman that if a society is following halacha, then they're not going to be oppressed. Now, the fact that a society based on their own social norms, which is based on the sexism that existed in the world, so if a certain society is just taking longer to catch up, so that's a social problem. That and I think I said then that give them time; they'll also catch up. It's a question of time, but everyone's catching up. It's like that, and that's something that it will pass because it's not based on halacha. Okay. So that's what I want to say about just the marriage in general. That the marriage is not a system that oppresses women in any way. That the Torah marriage is meant to respect women very much. One thing that we did mention that I wanted to get back to, and that is no, I'm gonna get that's in a moment. That's really in divorce. So but even within marriage, I wanted to say a word about polygamy, about having more than one wife. That why actually does the Torah think it's okay?
Children.
Why actually does the Torah think it's okay? Maybe let's explain the question a little bit better. That why is it that it's clear that a wife can't have more than one husband? So because to have more than one husband is cheating. That you're in a relationship, you have to be loyal to that relationship. So there's a certain moral obligation to be loyal to your relationship and to go and say, okay, you're a good start, but let's move on. So that's being not loyal to the relationship. Okay? I think that's the moral basis of, like, the reason why a woman can't have more than one husband. It's not just because how you're going to know who's the father of the baby. Right?
That's what I was thinking.
It's not just that. It's much deeper than that. And if I think that's a lame answer. If the question is how come a husband can have more than one wife and a wife can't have more than one, if the answer is, well, because if a woman has more than one husband, then you'll never know who the father is. But if the father has more than one wife, then you'll always know who the father is. You always know who the mother is. So that I think that's a lame answer because it doesn't explain why if you're not having children, then it's still a problem. I think it's just it doesn't really. It seems like it's too technical. It seems like that it's such a big question that it deserves a bigger answer. You know. So what is the moral reason why that the Torah thinks it's okay? I want to preface by saying that in the times of the Mishnah already, that no one has two wives. That there was no such thing in the Gemara, in times of the Mishnah, in times of the Gemara, that there was no mention of having more than one wife, and it's clear that it was not something that existed, and it was most probably just exceptional by the Avos HaKadoshim that they had it, and it was not part of Jewish culture, and number two, that as of the time of the Rishonim, so it's actually prohibited to have more than one wife, and that's something a famous halacha called Cherem de Rabbeinu Gershom. That Rabbeinu Gershom, he was one of the Rebbeim of Rashi, so we're talking about over 1,000 years ago. So he made a prohibition of having more than one wife. So because it's prohibited nowadays, and it was already accepted for over 1,000 years, 2,000 years, that it was accepted that it's an inappropriate thing, and then 1,000 years ago it was put into halacha that it's actually prohibited. So it's appropriate to bring this into the thing that we mentioned in previous classes about Rav Kook's idea about the evolution of morality, the evolution of halacha, that Hashem sometimes will expect the mankind to come to a certain revelation themselves. That even though He will permit something, but He really wants you to understand yourself that it's actually better if it's not like that. And He expected us to come to this realization that it's a healthier marriage for a husband to only have one wife. Okay? We said this about slavery, that the Torah permits slavery, and the Hashem waited for us to get to it ourselves to understand that it's inappropriate, it's immoral to have slavery. So that with that being said, so now I think the question is a smaller question. That it's not that the Torah is pro polygamy, it's that the Torah permits it, even though the Torah realized that it's actually inappropriate as a long-term plan, maybe because the generations change. But now the question is that how on any level does it make any sense? So to explain why on any level it makes any sense, so I would like to mention a Kabbalistic idea about the difference between a masculine energy versus versus feminine energy. I don't want to say the word masculine soul and feminine soul because we've mentioned this before, that according to Judaism, so that there's different energies within every soul, and some of those energies, the sfirot in every neshama, and some of the sfirot are masculine, some of the sfirot are feminine, and because both guys and girls have these masculine and feminine energies, so it's not appropriate to say that a soul has a gender. Okay, so which is why Judaism doesn't believe in trans, because the concept of trans is that you can have a girl soul in a boy body, or vice versa, and Judaism says that, hold on a second, but your soul doesn't have a gender.
But just mental illness, no?
Duh.
Yeah, it is. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness.
So
Like,
anyway,
yeah.
so the thing is, hold on. So the thing
It's
is,
true.
so the thing is that what is the difference between the masculine energy and the feminine energy? That part of the masculine energy is that men are connected to potential, and women are connected to actualization. So there's potential energy versus actual energy, and first of all we see this in the reproductive system, that the man that gives the seed, which is the potential for a baby, and the woman takes that seed and actualizes it and transforms it into a human being. Okay, so this is the feminine energy is called, in Kabbalah, it's called Malchus, which is about actualization, and it's about receiving, but not receiving in the sense that because she's poor, that she receives in order to actualize, to make it real. Okay, so this is really symbolic of the fact that in their psychology that they're very different, and the way that I once heard it explained is that a person was going on a speed dating event, and he was a journalist, and he wanted to speak about he wanted to write about the event as a bachelor. So he decided, I'll do it and then I'll write about it. So he showed up to one of the dates, and he tells the girl that, this is so cool. It's like 8 dates for the price of 1. And then the girl said back, "You kidding? I can't stand it. It's like an eighth of a date, 8 times." And so this is precisely the difference between the way that a guy thinks versus the way that a girl thinks. That guys like potential, and so from the perspective of potential, so then it's great. You have lots of opportunities, and from the perspective of actual, so having an eighth of a conversation doesn't make me feel good. Doesn't make me feel like I got anything. So so that's why a lot of the time, so it's the girl's ready to commit to a relationship before the guy, and the guy is like just he takes longer to realize that, yes, I want to get married and I want to propose and whatever, and she's already waiting since date 3, and so it takes him a year before he realizes that, yes, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, and the reason is because it's built into the DNA that this is the way they work, that they like potential, and so like the moment I say yes to this, so that I'm giving away all the other 5 trillion other girls that I could have married, and so then that's hard from a man's perspective. Okay, so so because the very basic spiritual makeup of guys and girls are different, so this is connected to the fact that a woman, so she is like her whole essence is to be in one particular relationship, whereas a man, because he's connected to the potential, so it makes sense on some level that he is going to be in lots of relationships at the same time. Okay, and because like he never felt, even when he was in the one relationship, he never felt that this is my entire existence. I'm like, and you know, you have this like girls from a very young age, like they're dreaming of being a bride, and you don't find the boys that their biggest, what's your deepest dream, is to be like usually it takes them like, you know, we always take it. Like the 40-year-old, so he's dreaming about getting married. But like you guys were dreaming about getting married since age 2. So that it's that a guy less defines himself as being a husband, and put that together with the fact that society puts upon him that he's having a career and whatever. So like he sees himself as less defining that he's a husband, and that's why that it does make sense on some level that the Torah, I mean, like, I'm just answering from the moral question that how does it make sense that he's not cheating. That's why it makes sense on some level that the Torah would say that such a thing is okay.
But why would another woman be okay with it?
Great question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were.
Yeah,
Not
but
sure.
most women would probably not be okay if like their husband had another girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does the Torah take into, I guess, like, let's say the wife's consideration if like
It says, I believe it says that with some of the cases, they asked permission. Like
Okay.
with Bill and Zilpah, so Yaakov didn't marry them until Rachel and Leah told him to.
right?
Okay. Same thing with Sarah, that he only married Hagar after Sarah told him to.
Yeah.
So it could be that's like the way it's supposed to be, is that you're only supposed to do it if your wife allows. Okay. I don't know, and it's a bit of a moot point at this point because like I said, it's been considered inappropriate for 2,000 years, and it's been prohibited for over 1,000 years. So probably when it was done, the right way to do it was to ask her consent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really. What you're saying is also only true in Alsot Ashkenaz. Like, people still had multiple wives in many countries in the Middle East up until, like, not just, but yeah, until very recently. I have personally, I'm not going to say which family member, but a very close family member who back in Morocco had 2 wives. So it wasn't like an unheard of thing, right? I don't know. I'm not saying that I would personally want to do it. Definitely not. But but what?
This is recent?
No, like a few decades ago. I'm talking like my grandparents' generation. Yes. Yeah. No, it existed. Yeah.
Okay, I don't. On that, I would ask. I wonder how the Rav felt about that.
No, but that's why I'm saying, because I asked once
Yeah.
this relative of mine,
Yeah.
how did you feel about the second wife? And she
Yeah.
was like, I didn't. She was like, she was fine. I didn't really think about it. He brought me to Israel and left her in Morocco, so it didn't really matter at the end of the day. Yeah, not in like a bad way. They had like a get, and it was a mutual decision. But yeah. She just made it sound like, he picked me anyways.
Yeah, but
Okay.
even if let's say like somebody has 2 wives, right? Like you see in the Torah, like Yaakov, he preferred Rachel. So how do you know like the man is gonna fill his obligation with the other wife?
Once again,
Yeah, that's like
it's prohibited, so it's not going to happen. Right? So how do I know it's that he's going to fulfill? I know because he's not going to do it because it's prohibited, right?
But
So
I guess back
if you
then,
ask- if you ask-
sure, back
so,
then,
so
yeah.
back then, so we see from Abraham and Yaakov that you're supposed to have consent. I think that's the way it was. But my point is that it's actually not a relevant point.
Okay,
The point
so
is that you would have to understand the way things were 3,000 years ago, and together with the fact that Hashem wanted it to change, together with the fact that they were asking permission, together with the fact that it was Baruch HaKodesh, like there's like, what I'm saying is that together with the fact that Kabbalistically it does actually make sense because there's a difference between a guy and a girl. Okay, that's my 2 cents to that conversation.
Okay, cool.
If you're not happy with that, so then it's enough to say that it's prohibited. So end of this story. Okay, which brings us to the next point. To the next point. Oh, actually, before we get to just another 2 points about marriage, and that it should go without saying that it's prohibited, according to Judaism, for a husband to hit his wife. This is simply from the fact that it says in Torah that it's prohibited for anybody to hit anybody. It's an avera in the Torah. It's called Inisar Chavala, and it says La Yosef, Pen Yosef, and there's a special prohibition if you make a wound, and there's a different prohibition even hitting without a wound. And we know the story of Moshe Rabbeinu that it says Rasha Lama Sakariacha, that even if you hold up your hand before you hit them, just to hold up your hand to hit them, you're already considered a Rasha. So there's a prohibition, general prohibition, for anybody to hit anybody, and there's no exception for wives. There's no exception in the Torah. It certainly doesn't is not implied by the fact that it says you have to love her as much as yourself and respect her more than yourself, and that's why I'm actually saying it should go without saying that the Torah prohibits such a thing. It's an avera. It's like eating pork for a husband to hit his wife. Okay, so that's in the Torah. That's in the Chumash. That's in the Torah Shabbat. Okay, another thing that should go without saying is that it's prohibited for a husband to rape his wife. Okay, and the not only does it say in the Torah that you're not allowed to that you need her consent. It says that it's prohibited for a husband to be with his wife when she's sleeping. And that is something which is there needs to be closeness. There needs to be more than consent. This is I don't know what it is in other religions, but I wouldn't trust. What? What do you mean?
That has to spell out that a man can't sleep with his wife when she's sleeping. That seems to have that has to be written.
Okay. So I don't know. I think it's better that it's written than it's not written. I disagree. I think if it wouldn't be written, then people would say, well, it's not written, so I can do it.
That's very disturbing.
It could be it's disturbing, but we're living in a world that there's evil. We're living in a world that people are going to try to take advantage of people, and I think it's very nice that there's no room to take advantage, because it says it. And obviously the Torah that says it, whether the people that wrote it down were aware that there's people that are going to try to take advantage, and they're saying that you can't do that. Yeah. Now, on the topic of rape, so I want to make another interesting point, that the people that would seem to think that the Torah doesn't care about women's rights, that the Torah is sexist, might point to the halachas of rape, and that is that the Torah seems to be disturbingly lenient on the punishment of a rapist. Okay, what would you think is the appropriate punishment for a rapist?
Death.
Death or castration. You guys don't listen to Ben Shapiro. So there's a story about this, oh no, there was guys. There's what's it called, lahava, like the anti-Arab.
Anti-civilization.
So I think some of them, that's what they do. Like if they hear that an Arab guy is hanging out with Jewish girls, so they yeah. Anyway, so
They what?
They show up with guns and they bring back the Jewish girl out of the Arab neighborhood.
No.
Oh wait,
What?
yeah, I've heard that. No, but something else.
Okay. Whoever got it. Anyway, so what's it say in the Torah? What's the punishment for a guy that rapes? It says you have to give 50 shekels to her father.
What?
It says you have to give
Are you
50.
joking?
I'm not joking.
It's not cheap.
It's 50 shekels is a lot, right?
It's nothing.
You have to give
Not even
50 shekels.
lunch.
Thank you.
What?
Somebody believes in Hashem. Okay.
Literally.
That's not even lunch anymore.
there's two halachas. If a person rapes another person, so there's two halachas. You have to pay 50 shekel to her father, and
50
and you
shekels.
have to marry her.
You're talking
have
about
to
like
marry.
pre-marriage, like not marriage.
She probably
Yeah.
doesn't want to marry you.
And you have to marry her. Now, what's the idea for marrying her? So that the Torah was concerned that now nobody's gonna want her. Now she's used goods. Now she's it's not she's not the best shidduch anymore, and she's gonna be offered like the guys that are missing a leg and an eye and
Yeah.
Wow.
she's no. This was the concern of the Torah.
Wait, let's do that.
What?
And
No,
therefore,
that's like.
and therefore,
Just leave it at
no,
there.
this is a concern that people might have. Okay, and
Is it still this way now?
no, no, I'm saying the Torah says
They have it in
that-
some
that-
Jewish cultures,
The Torah
so-
says that you messed her up.
Away.
You messed her up.
Closer to
Now you have to take care of her.
Only if she wants to, though.
Of course,
She does
right?
fine.
So of course it's only if she wants to.
I didn't hear.
I would not want to marry someone who raped me.
Good, but
And I don't need the 50 shekels.
So the question is basically that the Torah is ridiculously lenient on the rapist, and would this imply that the Torah doesn't really think that he's that bad? Okay, is that the case? Okay, so first of all, what's so funny? She thinks it's funny that somebody would think that the Torah doesn't think it's so bad. This is good. Anyway, so first of all, I want to clarify that there is a pasuk in the Torah that talks about a person who's running after a girl to rape her, and the Torah compares it to a murder. Okay, and we learn out from here that you're actually right the first time. That if you see somebody who's running after a girl to rape her, so the halacha is to shoot him. Okay, there's a machlekes if you have to aim for his leg, or if you're allowed to aim for his heart, if you're allowed to aim for his head. Like the question is that do you have to try not to kill him? You certainly have to do whatever it takes to kill him, even if it involves killing the person. And the question is that if you're a sharpshooter, should you not try to kill him? Okay, but you certainly have to stop him, just like you have to stop somebody who's running after somebody to murder them. Okay, so there's no room in the interpretation of the Torah to say that the Torah thinks it's not so bad. Okay, so that being said, the Torah says it's so bad. So how on earth is the Torah so lenient? So to answer this question, I want to bring another halacha that's actually very interesting, and that is that how did the Torah treat a thief? Okay, so what we call a gazlan. Okay, what is the punishment for a person who steals something? Okay, so there are certain situations that you have to give back double, but that's exceptional. Generally, what is the punishment of a thief? You have to give it back. You have to give it back. Okay? Poor boy. He has to give it back. Okay? Basically, now, obviously that's not a punishment because it's not his. Like, even if you find it on the street, you would have to give it back. Right? So basically we're not punishing him at all for the fact that he stole, which is ridiculous. Why shouldn't there be a punishment? Right? So the answer to this is something which is a very important introduction to understanding Torah in general, is that the Torah expects that the Jewish people should be an elite society, and in an elite society, there's certain expectations from you, like you were saying before, that you shouldn't have to be said. So the lot of things that the Torah assumes that you're on a high moral standard, and it doesn't need to tell you things, and that's why the Torah assumes that the Jewish people as a society are not stealing and would never think of raping, and if I'm sorry,
I said never.
and if And if it would be like that, then you just need to do whatever it takes to get the society back up to par, and then you'll work out with the halachas that it says. But the purpose of the halachas was not to be a deterrent. The purpose of the halachas was not to say that that's what he deserves. The purpose of the halachas were simply that in the crazy case that it would happen that what if she's going to be in trouble, and then we have to take care of her, and that's like a kind of like shelter for her. But but bottom line, a person who's a rapist is going to be shunned. It's going to be shunned from anybody. Nobody's going to talk to him. Nobody's going to let him into shul. Nobody's like his life is over. Like in the way that the Torah assumes society is going to be. If you steal, you're a thief. Like, why should I ever give you a job? You're like, that's not that the people who are thieves, who are doing things. This is the Torah assumes that this is below the bar, and that your punishment is much worse than anything that the Torah would have said, because simply the society organically is going to just throw you out.
Depends what society you live in.
I'm telling you the way society is supposed to be, the way the Torah assumes society is supposed to be. So if you're living in a messed up society, so tell me you're from New York without telling me you're from New York. So yeah, I'm telling you what the Torah is assuming is the way that a Jewish society is supposed to be. Also, by the way, that if you're living in a non-Jewish society, so then of course you're not. That's not what the Torah is talking about. The Torah is talking about that. When
you're talking about a Jewish community. Okay. All right. Okay.
Now it's better. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
No, it's fine. I'll stop.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the case. Like, even like, why would you be married to the man who's shunned by the entire community? Like, even if you marry the man, does that take away like part of the shun or something? Part of the shunning? Because like, let's say the woman.
It's only if she wants.
Only if she wants to. But I'm saying that like, even then, like, it probably wouldn't even be ideal because like then. Okay. So,
I agree. It's only if she wants. It's only if she wants. Okay. Okay. Now, last point for today. Last point for today. Very quickly, the Aguna crisis. The Aguna crisis that is there's that the giving, that just like getting married is not symmetrical. That he gives the ring to the girl and not vice versa. So getting divorced is also asymmetrical. That he has to give it to her and she doesn't have to give it to him, which could lead to a problem that if one of them doesn't agree, so then he's not stuck and she's stuck. So now, first of all, two things. That on Rabbeinu Klavo, he is stuck. Okay, he can't just if she doesn't want to get divorced, so he can't just do whatever he wants, because, like we said before, you're not allowed to have two wives. Okay, so until there's a good reason why she's not giving it, why she's not agreeing, so he actually is stuck. Okay, now the problem is that there is a way out for him. That's called a heter me'arabana. That you have if you have 100 rabbis that sign a petition that she's not being rational, and she wants to stay in the marriage without proper reason. So that then we allow him to give a get to the Beis Din, and whenever she's ready to take it, she'll take it, and in the meantime he can remarry. And the problem is that option does not exist for the girl. And that is where the Aguna problem comes in. You can have an evil, disgusting person that wants to cause his wife pain, and how could the Torah allow such a thing? Okay, so now I want to say 2 points regarding this. I don't want to go into, what I'm not going to speak about is solutions for the Aguna problem. That is not what this class is about. But what I do want to talk about is how is that not being sexist? Okay, so number one, that there actually is a way. There is a way out, and that is that according to halacha, so if a husband is supposed to give his wife a get because there is legitimate reasons why they should get divorced, so then the halacha is we force him to give a get. What does it mean we force him? It means we break his bones. It means that we beat him to a pulp until he says, okay, now I'm ready to give a get. Okay, so the halacha actually, according to halacha, there is no Aguna crisis because that it's very easy. It's very easy to force a guy to give a get. The problem is that we're living in non-Jewish societies, or even in Israel, we're living with non-Jewish rules that don't allow the Beis Din to do what needs to be done. So this is a problem. This is a problem, but it's not a Torah problem, because if we be if we be living in a society which is guided by halacha, so then there would never be an aguna, because all the people that are there's evil people, so they would learn their lesson very quickly and change their minds. Okay, another short anecdote on that topic is that once a person came to Rabbi Akiva Eiger, that there was a person who was refusing to give his wife a get, and so Rabbi Akiva Eiger called for him that he wanted to speak to him, and he was a very arrogant person, but he was Rabbi Akiva Eiger was such a big rabbi that he agreed to come, and so the person came into his study and he opened a Mishnah and Kiddushin, and he started reading. Person can marry a woman with 3 ways, and she becomes permitted in 2 ways. Like we said before. And he can acquire himself, and he's reading and translating, and she can become permitted with 2 ways, either by getting a get or if her husband dies. Then he looks up. Which will it be? And he said, and like he was an obnoxious jerk, so he said, "What do you want from me? Go away." And he got up, and he walked out of the study, and he fell on the stairs and died. Okay, so that's
crazy.
That's the koyach of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Okay, yes.
Sounds like
I
witchcraft.
just feel like God would have seen this coming. Like, why would there not have been a protection in place for the woman if there's a protection in place for the man? Like, why can't it be the same way that a man can get 100 signatures? Why wouldn't it be the same for a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would it not be there was other protection rather than beating himself up? Like, surely that's the question, and then the fact that it could happen now doesn't work.
The only reason, the only way that the only aguna problem that should be according to halacha is in one case, and that when the halacha talks about aguna, it's not talking about jerks, because like I said, that was never an issue. In the only time that it was an issue was the person went missing. Okay, and on that question, so the question is that why shouldn't there be some way out? And that's my last point. There's a piece from Rav Kook where he explains something. I'm not sure if this will be enough for you, but I think it's something to think about. And he talks about the fact that the reason why we need a get in a marriage, and you can't just annul the marriage, is because the Torah looks at marriage as such a powerful and such a critical part of life, and that the connection between them is something real and something binding. So, because it's something so real and so binding, and it has weight and it actually does something, so it's simply a reality that cannot just disappear. And the only way to make it disappear is by a halachic ceremony, which in an actual real way undoes the marriage which was done by the Kiddushin. So to say otherwise that you wouldn't need a real ceremony that undoes would be saying that the only way to make sense that you can undo a marriage without having an actual ceremony, the only way to say that would be that the marriage is actually not a true reality. Now, Rav Kook says that having marriage as a true, actual reality of a force binding between the two, that idea is such a critical concept in Jewish life and Jewish thought and Jewish society, that even if in one in a million, like I said, in halacha, the only time that you would have an aguna is only if a person is lost at sea, which is really 1 in a million. Okay, and even in those, there's like 99% of those, it's able to be matter. So in the 1 in a million agunas that there isn't a halachic way to permit her. So the Rav Kook claims that even though there is tremendous suffering for the individual, but because the society at large needs that marriage is an actual reality which binds between the two. So the Torah thought that the better good for the community, for the people, for the nation, is comes before the suffering of the individual. Okay? And that's how he explains that you can have this reality that a person is suffering, that it's actually, even though it's horrible, it's tragic that she's suffering, but the alternative would be worse. Okay? But once again, this has nothing to do with what we call the Aguna crisis nowadays, because the Aguna crisis nowadays is referring to jerks, and according to halacha, all those jerks would change their minds very quickly. L'chaim.